All right, guys, I am back on my third podcast. Really excited to keep doing this. I'm feeling all sorts of inspiration just because I'm spending a lot more time at home these days. If you follow me, you probably know that my dog, Romeo, had kind of an incident on Friday. And maybe one day I'll kind of get into that whole story because it really is interesting. But he's kind of been, on the mend and resting and needing more time at home with me. So I've been just kind of leaning more into that and being there for him during this difficult time because, he doesn't want to be alone. He needs a lot of resting. We need to make sure that he's okay and he's not really like struggling or anything right now because we are looking, like he's an older dog. Even though he looks like a puppy, but he is just so sweet and lovable. Like looking at him, you just think he's this baby puppy dog, but really he's 16 years old, which is pretty old for a Yorkie. And now he's just kind of in the final phase of life, and we're helping him kind of transition into the next phase. So this has definitely been a process. Um, but with that and with being home more, I have had more time to focus on the podcast and just kind of formulating my ideas. I've already recorded two so far, so we are on the third. Today, I really want to talk about the lessons I've learned over the many years of running my business and being a photographer, and also some tips for some of you guys that are thinking about getting into photography and how to kind of develop your business more. So I hope you guys find this really informational and that you can learn a thing or two from it. So over the last 15 years, I've had quite a few experiences, good, bad, and the ugly, everything in between. And a lot of it has really just kind of made me understand on a fundamental level of what is expected from me as a business owner. Um, Also, just learning more about myself and how to lead others, how to build a team. So, I kind of want to share that with you guys today. One of the first main things that I've learned is that energy is everything. And that is actually such a fundamental thing because I never used to understand the impact of energy until I was shooting weddings, and I was kind of like in, the habit of like getting really anxious before a shoot, like not being able to sleep, being really nervous, and like, am I going to forget everything? Am I going to have all my stuff on me? And just kind of like in a state of worry before a shoot. And I didn't realize this was like more anxiety, but also like I wasn't completely confident in myself as well. So when I was dating my previous boyfriend, we were shooting weddings together. And I would notice this trend of like, if me and him were not in a good place, and if we were fighting right before a wedding, which would happen quite a bit because would butt heads a lot. I was technically his boss, so it would just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a hard place to navigate because you you it's hard for a guy to do that with a woman and stuff. Not saying it's impossible, but like, the dynamics of our relationship was different. So, we would get into a fight, we would go into a wedding, and then I would notice like everything would go wrong at the wedding because we were going in with this like negative state. We were kind of mad at each other and you could feel it. So we would walk into the room and the bride is getting ready and she's just like, you could feel the tension in the air. She's mad at the makeup artist. She doesn't like the way she looks. And now we're here to like take pictures and it's just kind of awkward and it's not feeling good. And then it would run into the next thing. They would like see each other or they would get into a fight or there was like a battle of text messages and like fighting and essentially just bad energy. So that was kind of my first, like understandings of why energy mattered. There's one wedding in particular that I won't talk about today because I think this is the perfect example of how everything just was transparent and became clear on how energy was so like important, and also how I had to kind of overcome that and make the best out of it, but how essentially it was really difficult to handle this client because, you know, okay, I'll just get into the story. So I had this couple reach out to me and they're really excited about me shooting their wedding. They loved my work, especially one of my famous weddings, Ahad and Hira, that everyone kind of knows this couple because their wedding was just so amazing. It was like the Pinterest shots and just really magical wedding. So they saw their pictures and they were just completely obsessed and loved everything about it. So they booked us, and it was a good relationship. We had fun getting to know each other. She had a lot of inspiration shots of what she wanted to do. And that was cool. I'm all for that. I'm all for the bride, being communicative and letting us know like what they envision. I still preach that to this day. But what we had here was kind of an issue of expectations versus reality. So she had a lot of high expectations for different shots, which was fine. I mean, she wanted certain looks, and I was like, okay, that all looks like it's beautiful and stuff, but a lot of it is staged. And I had to kind of get creative with it and do my best. And I definitely did try. But what happened was on the first wedding day was the nikah. That wasn't that bad. She had booked us for like an hour and a half, and we had all sorts of issues go wrong on this trip. Like it was out of town, so our car broke down. It was in the middle of the summer, so we're all sweating. It was my whole team from Atlanta. A lot of mixed energies there. Everyone's kind of, frustrated and worn out, that kind of stuff. And so we went to go shoot. Part of the team, the other team stayed home. And then she invited us to, come after. And I think she invited us as guests to like hang out. And a lot of clients do that. They're like, oh, you guys can just hang out. But to us, it's like, it's cool, but like then people kind of expect us to bring our cameras, then we end up working, then it's more editing. So we are just like, no, we got to get our car fixed. We have to figure out a lot of things and get back to the Airbnb, which had also the AC went out, and this was like in the heat of the summer. So we were all like stressed out about that, but wanted to get home. So that was kind of the first thing, because I think she had an expectation of us coming and we didn't come. And that kind of made her upset, which I found out later. Me in my head thinking, oh, it's not a big deal, because to me, it wasn't. It doesn't mean that it wasn't to her. So next day was the Mehndi day, and we go to do their couple shoot, and we notice pretty much all throughout the shoot, she's just a ball of negativity, just talking crap, like one thing after another, complaining or talking some kind of issue about someone, and just, fuming to her fiance. And mind you, this is like the time we're supposed to be taking these like romantic, beautiful photos together. And we're in this park and it's hot and she's doing this. And like, I literally had to tell her a few different times, like, hey, I need you guys to just stop talking and smile at each other, because them in the midst of talking was not a good look. He looked pissed off. She looked weird and mad. So it was just like not a good vibe. And I needed them to just like really look like they were liking each other. And it was really difficult to do. Somehow we, pushed through there, did the event. It was a fun event. I think they ended up having a really good time. Now we fast forward to the wedding day, and this is the day where like everything just erupted. And I understood that like on both sides, they had a lot of stress from their families. On her side, she had apparently a mother that, kind of ridiculed her and, maybe bullied her type of thing. And two sisters that she seemed fairly close with. But it's just like, the dynamics of getting married, and when you're dealing with all mixed energies, it's just crazy. And then on the groom side, he was dealing with family pressure, like I think some family issues with his grandparents, getting sick, that kind of stuff. And he's having the weight of like having to go pick up people on the day of his wedding, and he was stressed out. So like just all the stress on them both. And then I think he hit a breaking point when it was time for us to come do his getting ready shots. We head to his apartment and he's just like, I can't do it. Just go to the venue. And we're like, okay, that's not the first time we've heard like we don't have the time. So we just kind of went with it. As a wedding photographer, though, we roll with the day. We do whatever we need to do because we have to be present that day and we have to be able to document it and be able to do it in the best way ever. So we roll with the punches. We go to the venue, we get ready there. We do all her shots. It works out fine. Everyone's fine and dandy. And then she gets a text on pretty much like moments before he was supposed to be coming to do the first look. And he just is like, I'm not coming. And that's probably the worst thing that a bride could read, moments before her wedding and first look. And we knew things were kind of wrong at that point. We knew that she was upset. So we gave her some time. We said, we'll give you guys a couple minutes and just kind of figure it out. And then, I mean, at that point, we all get back, downstairs. We're like, we don't know if we're having a wedding now. Like, what happens in the situation if he doesn't show? Does it just still become like a party? What do we do? And it's just like this weird cloud over it. But after some time, he ended up coming. He definitely had that look of shame. I guess she kind of yelled at him on the phone and stuff, or someone yelled at him, and he, has this look of shame, walks up the steps, goes to the room, and you just hear so much yelling and fighting. And then they both come down and they're like, okay, we're ready for our first look. And I was like, okay, again, rolling with the punches. We got to make this work. So, we do the mock first look of them seeing each other, and we all know the situation. So we know that it was technically like kind of fake, but like, we're going to make the best out of it because this is their memory at the end of the day. And if they want a better one, we can strive for that. So we do their first look. We do their couple pictures. And I just remember this one moment where I was like having to channel anything in me to like get them to be like romantic or like feel these good feelings towards each other. And so I told them to get into a pose, and I was like, okay, you guys close your eyes, and I want you to say, the one thing that you really love about the person that you're with. And so he says something sweet. He's like, oh, well, she knows how to always calm me down. And I love that. And then it was her turn, and she was like, I'm finding it hard to think of anything right now. And so that was just like another thing. And then all throughout the event, it was like, they were trying, but you could just feel that like she was not present. She was like kind of rolling her eyes and just not really there, not happy. And that's upsetting. And, that's your wedding day. You don't want to look back at that. And honestly, I don't blame her for getting back her pictures and not liking them, because now she's associating all of these negative memories, these bad feelings with the photos and video. So it's like, no matter how amazing the pictures would have been, she would have this weird vibe with it because like of how she was feeling that day, because no one wants to be, feeling abandoned on their wedding day, or like feeling insecure or not happy with themselves or their mate and that kind of thing. So that was just like such a huge, powerful thing of energy. So much so to like, even down to like us, our team, everyone within us trying to make it work, to like the couple, to just how everything played out at the end, how I got the longest email I think I've ever received from a bride, and just her pointing out every single thing that I did wrong. And, I felt really low at that time because I was like, man, I thought I did a good job considering the circumstances, but I definitely felt like I had to be defensive. And I wrote back everything that, from our perspective of what happened, and how there was, a lot of obstacles for us. And then, I mean, it was just like a back and forth, back and forth. And honestly, how do you rectify this situation? Like how do you fix something that is just so not able to be fixed? And it just got to a point where her husband reached out and messaged me, and he thanked me for, being so patient and understanding, and, really just being who I am. And he follows my Instagram. He really like, I think he kind of knows who I am on a like deeper level. So he just felt the need to apologize and tell me that they're working through a lot of things. She's in counseling. They have a lot of issues to resolve. And, I wish them the best. And I, said sorry if I came up short on my end. But this was just a perfect example of how energy is everything. So that would be the major lesson learned. One of the most key ones was just how important it is to be present, to have good energy, and also with your couples, really, push that experience that it is a good energetic time together, that we are on our highest vibration, that we are having a good time, because then you will, equate your memories with your pictures and you'll be happy. So it's like it solves all the steps. But stress definitely puts a strain on everything. And that's why I feel like I have found that way of being like a grounding type of force. And I've had situations where I've had to like look at brides one on one and be like, okay, there's a lot of stuff going on right here around us. You have to let it go. I need you to be here with me. And I need us to focus on getting these really nice pictures and like really hone in on being present. So that's one thing that I highly, 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 highly recommend is, diving into that energetic understanding of like everything goes on vibes, everything goes on frequency. And if you're feeling like things are off, they probably are. And we can rectify that by coming back to our breath, taking deep breaths. I've definitely had to tell brides, take a deep breath, like let's just be here, or take a few minutes just to be alone. And then we can try again in a little bit, because it's overwhelming. It's a lot going on. You have family in your ears, you're dealing with different drama, especially if your family has any, ancestral drama like mine does. Um, it's it's a lot. There's always these fighting forces, and you just have to overcome that when you're dealing with your own wedding, which is really sad to say, but this is just where we're at in the world. Um, so the next one, next major lesson learned is don't get wrapped up in the small stuff, which kind of goes off the energy thing. So I think a lot of people can make mountains out of molehills and essentially worry about the wrong things that don't essentially matter at the end of the day. Like I've definitely seen some brides where they're like, oh, I can't be seen. No one can see me. I don't want to leave the room because people are going to see me. And then I lose the whole entrance thing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but you're sacrificing not getting great pictures at like a beautiful venue that you paid for because you don't want to be seen. Or could you just like get ready earlier so you could do all your shots early so you can hide in your room or somewhere else after? So it's like, just don't sweat the small stuff. Like I see this at so many weddings where they freak out over things that really don't matter. They stress about like, oh, someone comes up out of nowhere and they're like, the caterer is 2 hours late. And it's like, realistically, what can you do if they're too late? You have to like just roll with the punches and go with it and let them do their thing. And if you can't physically go rectify it, then you're just kind of wasting your time and your energy worrying about it. So I would definitely recommend for brides and grooms, and just like even as being a photographer and stuff, don't get wrapped up in the things that don't matter, that they're out of your control. Weather issues. I remember when I would get stressed when like I had a bride that was so obsessed with getting pictures outside, and like the forecast is like 100% rain, and you're just like, you have to tackle that situation with them, and you have to be like, okay, there's a big chance for this, so what's your backup plan? And how some brides would be like, nope, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say that it's gonna rain. I'm just gonna hope that it's not. And then when it does rain, they're like the world comes crashing down. They're crying, they're upset. And again, taking you out of that situation of being in the moment, being happy about what's happening, the marriage, the union, the blending of the families, all of that good stuff, because you're mad about external situations like that. So definitely don't get wrapped up in the small things. This goes for everyone, for couples, for the photographers. All of you guys need this. Um, so the third lesson learned is you really need to get to know your couple, and you need to know if you vibe well with them, and kind of do like a screening process, because in hindsight, I booked a lot of weddings in the past that, like, in my gut feeling, I knew didn't feel right. Like, I knew that maybe the bride was going to be more challenging, or even the groom was going to be, micromanaging me, or just really not fun to work with. Like, you can tell. Like, recently, even I had a call with one bride, um, and it was just like you could hear from the tone of her voice that there was like not really much respect, and that she was going to try to control everything, and that it seemed like if it didn't go her way, she was going to make everyone know and be really mad about it and pout. And like, if I get that vibe initially off of the first phone call, I usually, in my heart, I'm like, you know what, I don't think this is a good fit. And I have had to tell people before in the past, like, I don't think we're a good fit for each other, or, maybe it's someone else is looking at the dates. So I would just say the date is no longer available. Um, you just have to be careful who you work with, because sometimes when we are booking weddings, because this is how we make money, this is our income, we can be in a state of lack, and we can be wanting to book people because we need money, and we're thinking like, I need to get that money because it's a deposit and it's going to pay for this bill and blah blah blah. But if you're doing it at that expense of like your own sanity, and taking a client that you don't think is really going to be a good fit, but you're taking it because of the money, you're usually going to regret that, because they're going to give you more of a problem later. And this has just like been shown to me in so many different ways, because I mean, so many different times where like I had someone book, they paid, we did everything, and then they just blowing up my phone thinking they're my only client. And if I don't respond to them within like 30 minutes, then I get 5 more emails. And I'm like, I don't like this kind of pressure. Like, I want to talk to you. I want to keep things open and for you to communicate, but I don't want to have to worry about like, if I don't respond in 5 minutes, that I'm going to get blown up. So one time I had to cancel a contract, because I was like, you know what? I'm not dealing with this, because if you're like this now, I can't imagine what you'll be like on the wedding. So it's just, you need to know that energetically, like, you should work with the people that really value your work, that respect your time, and that don't, you know, come at you, talk at you, disrespect you, that kind of stuff, because you're going to get continuous, experiences with them, working with them one on one, where it's going to come out more. And then that's just like not good for anyone, because they're always going to be upset that you did something wrong. You're always going to be upset that like they did something wrong. So it's just like this big block. And then you'll like look at yourself and be like, well, was that really worth like $1,500 for my sanity, for like, sleepless nights, and, times you get so mad that you're fired up that you're just like want to punch a wall and that kind of thing. It's not worth it. Just let it go. Something better can come. Or maybe you're not booked that weekend and you can spend time with family, or you can run a series of mini shoots that weekend and make even more money, because you didn't get yourself stuck in a bad situation with a bad client. Let's see our time here. I don't know what the time is, or when I started. I'm just rambling, but I'll give you guys one more lessons learned, because I think that can suffice for today. The last one, and maybe I'll make a whole episode about this, because this gets pretty deep. but I'll kind of give you the gist of it now, that confidence is key. Everyone always says like, fake it till you make it, you need confidence, and you really do. Like people can, like, they can sense when you are fearful, when you're anxious. And so if you're just worried about stuff, like, couples are going to feel it. Couples are going to feel when you don't know your stuff and when you're like start to panic and worry. So one thing I've noticed, and I actually noticed this quite a few times with different photographers, even during like my workshops and just different experiences, is how awkward it can be for people to do photo shoots, as for photographers. Some photographers want to just kind of be quiet and direct the couple to do whatever they need them to do, pose them, and they don't really keep a rapport with them. They don't talk to them or keep the conversation flowing, so it feels really awkward. To me, I'm just kicking it with them the whole time. We're just talking about everything. They're getting to know me. I'm getting to know them. I do have a really good grounding way of like keep um, keeping people comfortable and like having fun with stuff, because I don't like a boring time and I don't like awkwardness. So I will, chat it up, talk about everything, get people out of their shells. One good thing that I do like to do is just really hype up the couple, because I get excited when I'm shooting. So one thing I've noticed is when I'm shooting and I get really happy and happy when I'm hyping them up, they do better too, because they're feeling more confident when they sense my enthusiasm. So if I'm like, damn, I didn't know you're a model, but I knew from your Instagram, and like now I really know, like when I say little comments like that, they just get so like into it. And I love that because it really brings something out of them. That's one thing that is so beautiful about photography, is that it's a very intimate thing to get your photo taken, because you kind of have to break down those barriers. You have to be yourself. And it's really like difficult if you're feeling awkward or hesitant, then that will show in your photos. So having people just kind of let that down those barriers and just be themselves and be authentic and just have a good time with them. I think that's why my photos turn out so good, is just because people can be comfortable with me and people know how to relax. And when you can like ease into it and just have a good time, then your photos turn out better. You just feel really good. You walk away from the whole experience just being like, damn, I did that and I did really well and I feel really good about it. So I hope those were really good tips for you guys today. Just as a rough, overview, the main lessons that I've learned over the years would be that energy is everything. So make sure that you are coming in with good energy, and also just like directing that towards your couple and making sure that they feel comfortable. And the second one is don't get wrapped up in the things that don't matter. This is goes for the couples. This goes for the photographer. Don't worry about the big stresses that you just put in your head, because you're making things worse by stressing about it. The third thing is get to know your couple, see how you vibe with them. The best way to do this is actually during an engagement shoot, because you get that practice with them outside of the wedding. So it's a great way to kind of break the ice and let them get to know you. And the fourth and final thing for today is that confidence is key. So over the years, battling my, shyness and overcoming that obstacle, and just really, honing in on my talent and my getting better with like being a better photographer, researching, practicing. Once I started feeling like I'm getting better, it was like a huge growth spurt in my confidence. And now, honestly, I don't even second guess myself. I don't get nervous before a shoot. I used to have all these like nervousness, anxiety feelings. Oh my God, am I going to mess up? This is your wedding. What if I miss this shot? And now I could shoot a wedding tomorrow and like kill it, because I don't worry about it and I roll with the punches and I make it work. And I always exude so much confidence. And that's what people love, and people want to feel guided and supported and like you are there for them. And so that's what I have for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this transmission, and I'll be back soon with more podcasts. Please leave any feedback. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking about these episodes. Take care, guys.